First of all, I want to start by saying that the administration and the board takes every event of this past week seriously. As I stated before, if we did something contrary to the policies and guidelines set forth by the state, please accept my apology. To the parents and students involved that I have not met with, please accept my apology for any hurt, stress that you may have endured the past 2 weeks. I have met with the principals and the teacher and a few community members and expressed to them that we will adhere to teaching the state objectives. If a teacher or parent has a question or concern about a particular object, they should bring those concerns to the appropriate school official, the principal, assistant superintendent, or myself. Lumberton only uses CSCOPE in a limited format. When it was adopted, it was to be our timeline and our guideline for addressing the TEKS and preparing for the new Starr system. This is our second year of CSCOPE, and I believe we have expanded its use to unit assessments for benchmarking purposes to determine our weaknesses. In my opinion, we were caught up in the perfect storm, with the legislature and groups recently debating some concerns with CSCOPE, including transparency, cost, design, content, and mandatory full use by some districts. The recent geography lesson became a poster child for what is wrong with CSCOPE. After much ridicule and blame, I believe we have established that this had nothing to do with CSCOPE. It did, however, cause us to look at what the teacher was covering in class. After an investigation, it was determined that the lesson did follow the TEKS that are adopted by the State Board of Education. The first 5 years of CSCOPE, there were very few questions about the product, except that it had a long way to go in its development. This past year, however, many concerns have been brought to the attention of the lawmakers in TEA. I feel that Mr. Chandler and Ms. Goggins, in investigating the matter professionally, did a good job. It is time for us to get back at the task at hand, and that is to teach our students. But the most important thing is this. As a district, we will continually evaluate and reevaluate our curriculum. This incident, however uncomfortable it has been, will make us do just that. I appreciate the effort by our faculty and staff that had to endure the very harsh criticism, abusive language, verbal and physical threats. It's truly unfortunate that Lumberton has been thrust into a spotlight on an issue much bigger than the lesson at hand. As a community, you know that this administration has similar concerns as you do. My daughter has been bullied. I guess it's because of the position I'm in. So she has to endure the criticism, the comments, the vile things that are said about me. So the parent that was speaking, wherever she went, she left. Would y'all please pass on that I understand what some of the things that she's going through as a parent. Most of us have children that have gone through this system. We're in this together, and we are on your side. I would not want my child exposed to something that would harm them, and neither would any of our board members. As public employees, this is where I need you to pay attention from here on out. As public employees, legislators tend not to listen to school administrators, superintendents, teacher groups, or the local board. Public education was designed for just that. Local control. Yet over the years it seems like we have lost less control. And I'm willing to take the blame for some of the things that have happened. But most of the hate emails and false statements on Facebook and other websites are out of my control. The legislature tells us what to do. Then we find ways to master student expectations. The 83rd legislature is in session, and there are hundreds of bills. Mr. Chandler can scroll through some of these. I'm not going to read them, but just kind of scroll through some of the education bills. We have to play by their rules and their game, which is almost impossible to win. I repeat, almost impossible to win. This didn't start when John Valastro became superintendent a year and a half ago. It did not start with a teacher teaching a geography lesson. It started with the increase in testing and the push for school choice over the past 10 to 12 years. All this jockeying and showboating in the media has to do with school choice, high-stakes testing, and playing on our fears. Not my fears, not your fears, but our fears. Raise your hand if you have a student or grandchild in Lumberton schools. Yeah, okay. Think about the number of tests our students have to take. And again, we believe that we should assess our students' progress as a parent and as a teacher, but not at the current degree that the state has us doing. To my knowledge, I've never voted to pass a bill that would test our kids to this point. But because of lobbying groups and publishers standing to make hundreds of millions out of this madness, our legislators are being influenced and may not do the right thing. The superintendents of Region 5, myself and others in the area, are scheduled to be at the Capitol every week until the end of the school year, voicing our concerns, attending committee meetings, and testifying about too much testing. Along with more testing, the last legislative session took $5.4 billion out of public education, causing districts to reduce staff and cut programs. Districts had no choice to take those drastic measures. The problem in Texas is this. The student population increases by 80,000 students every year. Over the next 2 legislative sessions, that's about 360,000 students, or another $2.8 billion needed to educate them. What will happen if they don't put the money in and restore those cuts? My fear, our fear, is that the burden will be put on the backs of our teachers with fewer resources for test preparation and remediation. So what do? What do we teach? What are we tested on? The testing is based on the TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. And those TEKS are updated and upgraded every year in core subjects, state-required subjects, and electives. Small and mid-sized districts such as Lumberton don't have the staff or resources to address those thousands and thousands of changes. Recently, we had a parent call Region 4 District, Klein, to inquire about their curriculum. Klein ISD writes their own, just for the reason I mentioned. They have the staff and the resources. They have 4 high schools, 9 middle schools, 27 elementary schools with students, 7 to 1,000 students. Now, you got kids in our community, that's like having 27 primary schools in Lumberton, Texas. It's not apples to apples. We have to cover the same number of TEKS as Klein, regardless if we have 200 students or 50,000 students. They have a deputy director for curriculum. They have 6-time full curriculum staff members, and up to 50 people probably at the campus level to assist in managing it. We invested in CSCOPE because it was developed for teachers by teachers and managed out of Region 13 citizens. Contrary to what has been put out there, over 875 school districts, superintendents, curriculum specialists, and teachers, I don't think just jumped into the program without any thought. It was asked in a public forum about how long did we look at it. Lumberton looked at it for 2 years before we started using it. Yes, it was voted down the first time. But because of the Starr test that came around and the rigor that was told that the test would take, we needed a tool. So we used it as a tool. Our teachers, some of our teachers don't like it, some of them do. It's structure, it's rigor, it's critical thinking measures, and the standards set forth by the state, which we are required to teach, are all covered to take on the new Starr test. I don't personally believe CSCOPE was developed to be subversive to our country, to teach radical religion, but to prepare students for that test. on the screen, and it's probably not easy to read, but there are several pieces that are highlighted. It talks about world geography studies, what students examine peoples, places, and environments in all regions, national and international. Keep going, Mr. Chandler. To support teaching these essential knowledge and skills through a variety of primary and secondary source materials. That means that we use textbooks, we use CSCOPE, we use worksheets. The particular teacher that we're talking about travels extensively. She brought back artifacts, vestments, talked about their food, their culture, greetings. Those are the things that she was teaching. And those are all those that are in that particular section of the TEKS. A greater depth of understanding of complex content material can be attained when integrating social studies content from various disciplines, critical thinking skills that are taught together. And it goes on and on and on. Appreciate the basic democratic values of our state, our nation, reference to the TEC, it's the Texas Education Code. Again, if you watch this thing scroll, why is this pertinent? Like I said, this is one class, one set of TEKS for world geography. Can you imagine at the high school level for the core subjects, the state and the elective subject, how many TEKS there are? That's not about the kindergarten, 1st through 8th grade TEKS. And so again, as far as it is an understanding for the people in the audience, we don't have the staff. We don't have the resources to write and disseminate these TEKS. And again, we researched CSCOPE. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, we have teachers that don't like it. Yes, we have students that don't like it. But I'm telling you, the reason we went to it was just because of what I'm trying to show you on the screen and to get ready for the new, tougher test. Now, this is where the parents of our schools should be showing their discontent. The testing that takes place is comprehensive, which means that each year there will be information covered on the test called supporting standards. There are also readiness standards. So here you have a test that is 30% readiness standards and 70% supporting standards. Probably doesn't mean a hill of beans to you guys, but to those teachers, it's a nightmare. So, my voice is probably getting raised a little bit, because I would rather be in that audience saying the exact same things that you're saying, what's wrong with education. But as a public official, I have to make sure that our teachers are teaching those TEKS, and that our students are ready to pass that test. I call it, I'm an old coach at hand, I said, this is like playing a game. If you put some checkers out there, I'm going to try to beat you. Okay? I'm playing the game that the state of Texas wants us to play. And I would like to think that Lumberton has done a pretty good job. You should know that Lumberton has been a recognized district for the past 5 years in a row. And 13 out of 20. We met AYP at the federal level for 10 years in a row. We are the only 4A district last year to meet the federal guidelines. So we're doing something right. And again, it's credited to the teachers who are actually teaching the children. And it's actually, we have a community that supports education. That's the only reason we're as successful as we are. This might be something to brag about, but is it really? Our teachers are working harder than ever to cover material. Even questionable material, as you've already heard, to be ready for a test that does not prove that our children will be successful after high school. So let's ask ourselves, what's all the testing really doing to our children? Again, those of you who raised your hand, and I have one, is there anxiety? Is there depression? Is there apathy? Is there dropouts? Is there, there are reasons our students are leaving public school. Okay? For you to don't have children, it's kind of intimidating to watch your child get ready to go take a test, and she's sick to her stomach the day she takes the test. Then she's sick to her stomach for the next several months, wondering if she passed or not. That's what we're dealing with. And it is frustrating. I've said this before. Most of the people I've called, most of the people I've responded to, I'm on your side. Because I love this community, I love our teacher, I love our kids, but I have to do what I think is best. And since I have to play their game and I have to get students to pass a test, we're going to have to push them. And, you know, it's fine and dandy, but if we don't do something, we're going to lose more of our kids. And I know there are people in here that have experienced their own kids' anxiety and their own tears and their own fears. People say they're leaving public school for bullying. That might be the case in some cases. But you know what? A lot of them are opting out to go to private school or homeschool because they don't have to play this game. They don't have to take that test. I made a comment once, money plays a big part in the decisions of our legislature. And you know lobbying has a tremendous influence on our society. I was asked by one of my staunchest opponents, critics, and haters what I said about money. And my response is this. Decisions used to be made about the Almighty Savior. But unfortunately, in today's society, it has become about the almighty dollar. And that's sad, but it's true. Testing is a big business in our state. Pearson, who provides the Starr and EOC test, has made over $1 billion over the past 15 years. Do you know our kids take 32 Starr tests throughout the year? We probably lose twice that in teaching days because of the testing, if not more. This is an interesting slide. I wish it was a little higher. I'll do my best to explain it. There are 50 states. 25 states have 0 testing to get out of high school. One state has 6 to 9 tests to get out of high school. But in Texas, bigger is better, but in this case, more is better. In Texas, our kids have to pass 15 tests to get out of school. Now, how ridiculous is that? I would venture to say, if our mad mamas who are attacking me would put as much energy in fighting the real fight, I would venture to say that something could get done at the state level. And it's not too late. Because it's your children who are going to have to be responsible for passing all these tests. On a side note, it's kind of funny, but serious. A few years ago, I went to a workshop that says, you know, when students erase that little bubble, and if they don't have a certain type of eraser, they can erase all they want, and then they can put the right answer. That answer is already wrong. Because their sensitive bubble machines that read it are going to count it wrong. So we spend money in buying these really, really expensive erasers, so if our kids do make a mistake, they can erase it. And here we are getting students at the 3rd grade level learning how to erase so they don't get dinged for changing their mind. Pearson, on Craigslist, is offering $12 an hour for college students to come grade our ELA test. I think that's a travesty. They don't have enough people to grade this test, so they go out, solicit on Craigslist for $12 an hour. Did anybody know that? Yeah. So we got some issues and we got some problems, and there is a solution. Believe it or not, I think the next slide. There's a group out there, and it's sad, they probably wouldn't be here tonight, but they're actually talking to 10 of our districts at the Region 5 Service Center at Edison Plaza downtown. And it's called Texans Advocating for Meaningful Student Assessment, or TAMSA. And it's a grassroots organization comprised of concerned parents and other community members. Keep on going, Mr. Chairman. Parents support accountability as we have high expectations for our children and their schools. However, we are appalled by what we see in the new testing system, what it's doing to classrooms and our students. And then I put that slide in there, is am I good enough? You know, our students, you know, if they don't pass a test or they don't pass a section of it, they ask themselves, am I worth it? And I think, again, that says a lot about the state of education. If our kids can't feel like they can go get an education and feel what they've done is worth anything. And the next slide, it talks about the return on our investments. Again, the $1 billion that Pearson has been paid over the last 15 years to put on the TOPS and the tax and now the Starr. And the really sad thing is, all the things that we're doing, all those tests that they pass, does not ensure that they're going to get to go to college and be successful. Here's a great example. We took the first Starr test last year, our freshmen, and statewide, 32% failed the reading. 45% failed the writing. So here we go, at the end of the year, we get the test back in June, our kids are scrambling in the summer, they're not being successful, they have to take 2 English classes the next year, or an English class in remediation. What, are you going to look forward to starting school the next year knowing that you're already behind? But that's what we are. And we got 4 tests. We got English, ELA, we got the reading, we got the writing, we got the social study, we got the math, we got the science. So yeah, fun. School's not fun. It's not fun for your kids. It's not fun for our teachers. It's not fun for the administration trying to prepare and get your kids ready. The thing that tests do not, and you can read up there, this is what the test doesn't test. And the reason I put that up there is because, you know what? We have some pretty good, talented kids in fine arts. We have some talented choir kids. We have some talented band kids. We have kids that are creative. They can do amazing things on the computer. They can teach us all kinds of things. We have kids that have leadership skills. All those things that are listed aren't tested. But yet, this is my 28th year in education. Those things were important back then. Those are the things that our veteran teachers were important. Those were the things that were important back in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. It's just a different time. And education has to change. And we're doing the best. We're not perfect. I already apologize. I'll apologize again. I have room to grow. But I think hopefully you have a better understanding of where we're coming from. I did make a comment that if you're mad, I hope it's not just because, you know, of what happened this past week in Lumberton. The tide of anger that is coming out is warranted, but not because a teacher was teaching to teach, not because some group is spreading fear and hate that CSCOPE is promoting radical Islam, not because a principal asked students to fill out an incident report, not because I supported the efforts of the faculty and teachers, but we should be angry that our children are the ones suffering. For all of you who are here, and I'm about to wrap it up, for all of you who are here and have been misinformed, I apologize. Before, when people had a question or a concern about what was going on in their schools, they would come to a parent meeting. But today's society relies on social media like Facebook. And while it's a good tool, it allows people to say and do things without having all the facts. I stated both facts and opinion to make a point tonight. And I don't know if I've said anything that has changed anyone's mind. But if you have a concern, I would encourage you to visit your child's teacher, campus principal, or my office. To my knowledge, I've returned almost every phone call from those who have contacted me with a concern. Maybe it took a few days, but I try to return calls within 24 hours. Most people have been satisfied with our explanations regarding this incident. For those of you who have not contacted us and have made your decision based on misinformation and untruths, again, all I can do is apologize. And let you know that this school board, myself, my staff, My teachers are truly here to serve. I've never been accused of being unapproachable, but for some reason, someone has put it out there that I am. I've always said perception becomes reality if enough people believe it. I know I have work to do to correct what has been spread to our community and our parents. And in closing, what's going on in our legislature at this time? Unfortunately, more untruths. There's a lobby group out there willing to tell lies to our legislatures. The latest one I received yesterday is a group of telling our legislators that superintendents are willing to have students take all 15 EOCs as long as they don't count toward their graduation. Really? They haven't called me, but I promise you I would tell them that's not the truth. The students, those studious students, as I call my oldest daughter, would stress herself out to pass that test. Students filled with apathy will not try at all. And yes, while they say scores may not count toward graduation, they'll count toward how our school is labeled. Other mistruths include this, and again, hopefully this kind of touches on everything that people have talked about. And again, I don't know if I've changed your mind. All I can tell you, people who know me, and I've been here for 10 years, they know my values, and they know my Christian beliefs, they know my love for this school, they know my love for this community. The rest of it you'll have to judge for yourself. Other mistruths include Lumberton students were forced to wear the burqas. It was only voluntary, and it was only connected to the geography lesson. Lumberton is not promoting Islam. Our teacher is only teaching the required TEKs. WG 18B, I think that was the TEK, of a major culture with over 2 billion people. She was teaching geographical landscape, food, readings, including clothing. I would expect the backlash from this will cause all our social study teachers to rethink how they approach a topic such as tying religion to its geography. It says students were made to sign a legal document as a cover-up. Students were asked to fill out an incident report. Oh, the pressure's on me. Where's my incident report? I had a blank one. It's probably sitting on my desk. Anyway, the incident report is blank, has a bunch of lines, has the students, you put your student name, and what we do is if there's an incident, we ask the student and the teacher to say, did this happen? In your own words. And they fill out what they saw, what they did, what they heard, what happened. And then we use that in our investigation to see if the stories match up. That's the incident report. There was no cover-up. It wasn't written by an attorney. It was a blank sheet of paper that has a bunch of lines on it. And I really wish I had it to show you. All right.
Oh, there's one.
If you want, just pass it around the audience. I know what it is. I don't need to see it. So they weren't made to sign a legal document. I guess it becomes legal if it becomes part of an educational record. Is that right, Mr. Waldo?
Do what now?
I guess it becomes a legal document if it becomes part of their educational record.
It's not a legal document. Once they complete it, it's part of their educational record under federal law.
Federal law. Other mistruths. CSCOPE. This was not a CSCOPE lesson. I think it's been enough said about that. The teacher taught the class for many years, way before the CSCOPE was ever developed. And again, you guys are naming some names. I'm not going to name them, but again, she was teaching this class long before that. Students were told to call terrorist freedom fighters. Again, some confusion and misunderstanding. This is what I received. Again, I'm not going to lie on anything. I'm going to tell you what I found out, and people know I'm pretty straight up. It says the teacher used a quote in her classroom from Gerald Seymour in his 1975 book, Harry's Game, which stated, "One man's terrorist is another's freedom fighter." The point of the quote was to create conversation to show how one group can perceive an action according to their own agenda. Discussion among the students focused on how people can twist the word freedom fighter and make it convenient for their own dark purposes. The misinterpretation of the fact that the teacher called the 911 the 9/11 terrorist freedom fighter is far from accurate. Parents are not allowed to see CSCOPE. Somebody mentioned that. Yes, it is a product. It was purchased. It's password protected. If parents want to see it, we encourage them to get involved in the children's learning. And parents have a legal right to view all instructional material. After the Senate hearing of about 2 weeks ago, I think Senator Patrick got some things going. I believe starting in April, CSCOPE will be available to parents. They'll have access to all lessons and documents, except for tests and answer keys. Some of the truths that we've heard tonight. We will have a public forum to discuss parents' concerns and questions about CSCOPE. We will encourage all parents to attend. It will be the week after spring break, the date and time to be determined. We will post it on our website and have a call out 2 days prior. After meeting with the high school principal and assistant superintendent who did the investigation of the geography lesson, I personally reviewed the TEKS developed by the state of Texas. I will stand by my comments made to the media that I do not think the teacher intentionally, subversively tried to promote Islam or convert students in any way, form, or fashion, or did anything wrong. I will continue to fight for fewer STAR tests in grades 3 through 8 and fewer EOCs for our high school students. I've lived in Lumberton 10 years and I truly believe we have one of the finest, if not the best school in Region 5 and all of Southeast Texas. In closing, I would like to share with you the following email from a former student. Dear teacher, I don't know if you remember me, but I graduated in 1998 and took your class during my time at Lumberton High School. I've heard the recent news coverage of your world geography course and wanted to share a few things with you about how your class affected me. When I took world geography over 15 years ago, you did the same activities with my class. I so enjoyed the activities and loved having you as a teacher. Your course was one of the first times I got exposure to other cultures. Having lived in Southeast Texas my whole life and not having the chance to travel as a child, your class opened my eyes to a whole new world. And it's part of the reason I went on to join the Peace Corps in 2006. The class helped me to develop a love of travel and a desire to experience other cultures. I have now been to a growing list of over 13 countries and plan to see many more during my life. I would like to thank you for all you did for me and for giving students the opportunity to realize there is more to the world than Lumberton, our state, and our country. Teaching cultural understanding helps to facilitate a desire to achieve peace between not only nations, but between neighbors. Thank you for all you do, and I want you to know how much I appreciate all you did for me. Sincerely, when it was signed by the student. Fine. And all I have to say is, isn't that what we're supposed to do as teachers? Aren't we supposed to inspire students to do things that they wouldn't normally do? We have great teachers at Lumberton, Texas. I call them phenomenal. They like to stay in Lumberton to make a difference. Not for the money, not for the prestige. We've had great students come through here. We've had kids that excel in academics, excel in choir, excel in band, excel in sport, excel in welding. And we sent a lot of kids to the military, to different branches. We're proud of our students, We're proud of our teachers. And all I ask is that you give this administration, this school board, this staff a chance to teach your kids. Thank you.